It's a beautiful sunny day. It's always windy here. And so we begin with Psalm 121 as we stand under the heavens. Asai enai el ha'arim me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yitein amod rabbecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hinei lo yanum velo yishai shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai shmar tzitecha u'roecha me'atah va'ad olam. I lift up mine eyes unto the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help cometh from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike thee by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Death has taken our beloved, our dearly departed, Don Rubin, Dov Ben Meir. Friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Don's love that united so many people in life and which death cannot sever. For his companionship that was shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of his heart and his mind which brought joy and happiness, and is now a precious remembrance. For all of these and more, we give our thanks to God. It's a time of sadness and grief, and once again we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures from Sefer Tehillim, from the book of Psalms. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator. In light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, life as in death. Together let us recite in the English the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's a privilege now to call forward to speak of his dear father. Ken will say a few words, and then grandson Neil will speak as well.
My dad was a total package when he was my dad. He was involved with me in Indian Guides, Boy Scouts, as an assistant scoutmaster. He spent endless countless hours in campouts, portaging canoes on a rigorous Canadian trip, which I was reluctant to go, but my dad said, "You can do it." I was at the time 11, as well as all the summer camps that he spent hours of time in campers in New York as well as in Ashtabula. His time with me allowed me to attain the rank of Eagle Scout with 3 palms. When I received the letter of employment with the FBI, my dad was bragging to his fellow carpenters that his son was with the FBI. But in a sense, I should have been bragging about my dad. He showed me all the skill sets in carpentry, handyman skills, and he showed me the roads when we were working on his apartment buildings, from installing drop ceilings to painting. When I was with the FBI for a few years, I turned down a transfer to Quantico, Virginia. I talked this over with my dad, but because of my family and my dad, my mom, regular family, I always put my family in first place and didn't want to travel, as it was very extensive. He loves his dogs all his life, including the one he made out of chicken stars called Lucky since he was a little boy. And his passion for model railroading was very endeared. His expertise from the smallest detail to the largest, he always strived to do the best in whatever you can do. He had a saying that I'll never forget. It's still in his dresser. It says, "Every day begins in time. What you make of it depends on you." That was on his dresser, and I really gotta miss my dad.
And to those words spoken as a prayer, let us say Amen.
How's it going? I'm Neil. I'm the youngest grandson of Don. I was lucky enough to know him for almost 20 years, and grateful enough to have the opportunity to be able to visit him and Grandma and our other families once here in Cleveland. Most of us have also once here in Florida, and Grandma used to also come all the way to Minneapolis to visit us also. So I was lucky enough to get to see them usually 3 times a year, and they live in Cleveland, Ohio. We live in Minneapolis. I just have a few words to say about why we actually fold the flag in 13 different ways. If you guys noticed, it's very precise, and there's a reason for each fold. So the first fold of the flag is a symbol of life, and the second fold is a symbol of the belief in eternal life. The third fold is made in honor and in remembrance of those veterans who served to defend our country and attain peace throughout the world. The fourth fold represents our belief in God, since it is to Him we turn in times of peace as well as war for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country, for in the words of Stephen DeCurd, our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but it is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold represents our hearts as we pledge allegiance to our flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice tribute to our armed forces, for it is they who protect our country and our flag against all enemies, whether they are found in or out of our borders. The eightfold is a tribute to those who entered the valley of the shadow of death, hoping that they might see the light of day again. The ninefold is in honor of womanhood and mothers, for it has been through their faith, love, loyalty, and devotion that the characters of the men and women who have made this country great has been molded. The tenthfold honors fathers, also because they have given their sons and daughters for the defense of our country. The 11th fold represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon and glorifies the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold represents the emblem of eternity and glorifies God the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. The 13th fold, or when the flag is completely folded, the stars are upmost, reminding us of our nation's motto, quote, "In God we trust." After the flag is completely folded and tucked in, it takes on the appearance of a cocked hat, reminding us of the soldiers who served under General George Washington and the sailors and Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones, who were followed by their comrades and shipmates in the armed forces of the United States, persevering for us the rights, privileges, and freedoms we enjoy today. There are some traditions that are time-honored, venerable, and created to be meaningful, such as this special and precise folding of our American flag. The significance of this expression of patriotism is so very much an American tradition and deserves to be passed down from generation to generation. Please share this symbolism with all who salute our flag and enjoy our liberties and freedoms. And then I just have a few words to say about Grandpa. So yeah, like I said, I was lucky enough to know him for 20 years, which is a long time. Some of my other grandparents, I never even got to meet them. And I think we all should take a moment to think about that Grandpa was really good at just looking at the bright side of things. He always was able to poke fun at life, and when things were serious, he would always just crack a typical Grandpa joke and stuff. We'd be in the car, and we wouldn't know directions. Grandma would be like, "Nobody knows where to go," and Grandpa would always, she'd be like, "Nobody knows," and Grandpa would be like, "She does?" As if nobody was a person. Yeah, and he would always say, what makes it heavy? The weight. Or if you come back from Peter Lewis and you're like, "How's the water?" And you'd be like, "It was wet." And yeah, you just say things like that. Yeah, and he built a lot of things. He still has so many things that he built when he was a kid, a teenager, even in elementary school, that he still has at Grandma and Grandpa's house. He has this small footstool that he used every single day that he made when he was 13, actually. And it's very nice. I have no idea how he made that when he was 13 years old. He also has a little table that's just next to his spot on the couch, if you guys know at their place. And he built that actually when he was pretty young too, younger than me, I'm pretty sure. And it was made for flower plants that he could put on. Grandma and Grandpa used to always watch the Indians game together every night, and they knew all the players. And they'd come up, Grandma would be like, he's not gonna be good, or "Oh, this is Ramirez or Carlos Santana." They would know all the players and all their backstory, which players were Jewish, which players were not, And one time I was sitting with both of them watching the Indians game, and then they both fell asleep actually, and then Grandpa woke up 1 minute before Grandma, and then Grandma woke up and Grandpa was like, "You were asleep." And I was like, "You were just asleep too," but he didn't want to admit it, I guess. Yeah, and then just a couple more things. When we would go out to a restaurant, Grandpa, obviously, as you guys know, is a fan of free food or anything like that. We'd sit down at our restaurant, they'd bring the basket of bread, and then he asks for a second basket of bread before we even touch the first basket of bread. And, that's just how it goes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I like to try to remember him in those ways and just all the funny times that he's had. And he's just really good at looking at the bright side of things and just being lighthearted. And yeah, just being able to have fun with life and just smile and yeah.
And also to those words, those joyful words, spoken as a prayer, let us say Amen. We gather to recall and remember the many aspects of Don Rubin's life and his journeys. As family members talked about him, I was reminded of a beautiful Torah teaching at the end of the book of Numbers and camping. If you know the end of the book of Numbers, our ancestors slept through the wilderness for 40 years and they stopped at 42 different places along the way. Numbers chapter 33 verse 1 says, "These were the marches of the Israelites," or the journeys of the Israelites, the campings of the Israelites, who started out from the land of Egypt. And then the Torah gives us the name of each and every camp the Israelites established and used and pitched. Names that you see nowhere else in the Torah occupy as much space as names that you know very well, like Mount Sinai. I mean, places that they camped at. The places that were little places have the same amount of space. Apparently God thought that there was some valuable lesson in listing each and every name of a camp. So why were the names listed? In the Midrash, it gives us many reasons. Here is one reason for this morning. The names of the 42 camps are listed so that we can remember the miracles God did for us during the precarious period of the wanderings. For 40 years, our ancestors marched through, they slept through the wilderness. There was no source of water guaranteed. There was no source of food except for manna. But other than that, nothing else really guaranteed. Or shelter, or protection. The only shelter, the only sukkah, the only tabernacle they had was God and their faith. Each name of the camp reflects just another time God protected us when we laid down to sleep. And so the Midrash teaches that God instructed Moses, write down the stages which Israel journeyed in the wilderness in order to know and to remember the miracles. And this is a touching reminder of your dear husband and father and grandfather and brother-in-law and uncle and relative and friend at each and every stage of your lives, and especially when you were in the wilderness. Don was a source of food, he was a source of water, he was a source of free food, now we know. He was a source of water, he was a source of shelter in the physical sense, and in the emotional sense, and in the spiritual sense. And when we reflect upon the stages of our lives and the name of each campsite, we reflect yet another time in those stages of our lives on when and how Don cared for us and helped us and protected us and built things for us each time we lay down to sleep. Don was born in Cleveland, July 17th, 1933. His parents of blessed memory, Mayor and Estelle. His older brother Richard preceded him in death. The family moved from Cleveland into South Euclid, I think you said. He went to Brush High School. Then he went to Fenn College. Now that's, of course, called Cleveland State University. He served 2 years in the U.S. Coast Guard. He went to Max Hayes Trade School for 4 years. He became a journeyman carpenter. He married Elaine Freed on March 23, 1957. we were talking about this before the service. There's somebody here named Frank Freed, not related, but it's just kind of unusual that your last name was Freed, and here we are right next to somebody else named Freed. Maybe it's Mishpacha, it's family somewhere down the road. Somewhere. Also a veteran. Right? This guy was in the Navy. So they'll talk some ship stories probably. And Don and Elaine were married March 23rd, 1957, and just celebrated their 65th wedding anniversary last month. They have been blessed with family and friends many, many times over. Children, Ken, Karen, Carol. Spouses, Gail, Bob, Lois. 5 grandchildren, Josh, Brandon, Valerie, Rob, Neil. He was a dear brother-in-law of Ronnie and Evelyn, and he was an uncle to many nieces and nephews. As Elaine recalled, in 2020, he received his 65 years of service pin for the United Brotherhood of Carpenters. He was a Boy Scout assistant scoutmaster. We did the Redcoats thing. We were Playhouse Square, and we volunteered there. He was a life member of the Jewish War Veterans Post 44. But Don didn't just do Boy Scouts, he did Cub Scouts too. Apparently the whole month of February used to be called Hobby Month. And so he would bring all these different Cub Scout packs from around the city to the house and take them probably each day during the whole month, take them down to the basement to show them, of course, the trains. He had a tremendous train collection. We've got trains on the tie. It's I don't know exactly what kind of trains, but we've got trains on the tie. He enjoyed weekly games of pinochle. I had to look up how to spell pinochle. I'll have to learn how to play pinochle. Is it hard to play?
No, it's fun.
It's fun. Good.
He was good at it.
As a grandchild, which is the way to say. Yeah, it was fun. Good. He played with family and friends. He loved photography. It wouldn't be unusual to see him carrying around a camera. He loved gardening. He loved tinkering around the house. Elaine said we always had a pet dog. But model railroading was really his passion. And quite often his wardrobe consisted of, well, t-shirts with trains embossed on them. Don and Elaine enjoyed camping with family and friends and are charter members of the Hobo Camping Club for 48 years. Many of the hobos now live in R.H. Myers and continue to have meetings and outings. They also belong to the Willowwood Campers and Cardinal Camping Group. And to avoid the winter, they would go down to the Royal Coachman Resort in Nokomis, Florida. Did you camp there too? It's never too much camping. Carol recalled among the many things she recalled. Dad used to take us sledding in the winter, and he would fill up his work thermos with hot cocoa to warm us up. I used to tag along with him on his carpentry jobs and used to hand him tools and screws, and those are good memories. We lived out of town, and I remember the time that he measured our radiator covers, and then he drove them up here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, right? He drove them up to Minnesota, to Minneapolis, and they fit perfectly. He measured them, he made them here, out of town, drove up there, put them together. So, as a good carpenter, he measured twice and he cut once. Neil and Grandpa would joke, and they just laughed, and they were very close. We'd call, and he'd give us good advice on whatever projects we were working on. He just loved to hear little funny jokes. He would introduce us to people and say, we went to different schools together. He was a cook in the Coast Guard. He budgeted well for the guys, and every once in a while he was able to buy them steaks. That was a very popular thing as a cook. And he went into hospice on the date of their 65th wedding anniversary. So it's bittersweet. He loved ice cream, chocolate especially. Karen recalled, every Sunday since Dad was a cook in the Coast Guard, he made a special Kraft mac and cheese, but with special ingredients. And then we'd go out for a drive, spend time out, and then we usually ended up at some place like Denny's or something like that. He made sure I learned how to change a tire before I got to drive. That is a really smart thing. Have you ever had to change the tire?
No, once I did get a flat tire, but cars these days you can't change those ones
Yeah,
that's now.
you got a flat tire, but you couldn't change it. It's like, yeah,
Right.
can you change it? And when I was in college, I took an auto mechanics. I could change the oil, right? Get under there. You can't do that. But anyway, the point of learning how to change the tire before you drove the car is very much, it's wise, it's common sense, it's the kind of thing that we should do for our children and grandchildren. There were times we all painted with him, and we would be wearing the clothes and the painter's hat. Anytime we needed something fixed, as we've heard before, he could do it. Mom and Dad loved watching our dogs for a vacation week, and then when we'd be gone, they'd fix things around the house. And we didn't expect it. And he loved doing that. And then when we came back, we were surprised. It was like a whole new part of the house. He cleaned the shower and the grout. And it's not as if she never did that. But you go on vacation, you come back to clean shower and clean grout. Doesn't get a whole lot better than that. He loved animals. When our dogs passed away, he said, "There's an open house for greyhounds. Let's go see." And we weren't going to do it, but we did. We went, and well, for 9 years, I took the dog to the nursing homes that we got, and he was part of that decision. It was so wonderful. As an indication of their love for dogs, when Mom and Dad got married, there was a dog who came into the house when they were at their first house. They were moving around appliances. And this dog showed up and stayed for 21 years. I mean, it was fantastic. And then Dad built the dog a doghouse, but not just an ordinary doghouse. It was a doghouse with a second floor, where the dog could go up and then sit on the roof of the doghouse. Just want to make sure I don't lose everything with the wind. Karen said, "I'd never heard my dad swear. He had a kind heart. He was very encouraging of all of our career choices. And we all remember playing with the trains in the basement." I also remember that I played clarinet, and he would record me, tape recorded me. Carol played the trumpet. He tape recorded us all talking and doing things like that. He would come to our concerts. And of course, we went camping just about every weekend. And so, on this past Sunday, Don breathed his last, and now there's no deterioration or pain. There's just rest and wholeness and peace. And just as the Sabbath day is a time of rest and wholeness and peace, so for your dear Don, it's a time of rest and wholeness and peace for him. Judaism believes that his soul returns to God and to be with the souls of his dear relatives and the ancestors of our people. We learn this in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. So, we will place the body in the ground. Over the course of time, there will be decomposition, and the spirit is returning to God as we speak. We believe in something, it's life after life. You can call it afterlife, or you can call it continuation of life, but it's a spiritual sense. It's called Olam Haba, the world to come. Olam Haba is a time, not a place. This is a place. Olam Haba is a time during which you will be together. Your soul and your spirit will be together with your dad and your grandpa and your husband and your relative. Again, the family has allowed us to send along a couple of Haggadahs with him in the casket. It's a mitzvah, it's a religious obligation and a good deed to not only escort the body of your loved one to its final resting place, but holy books of our tradition. And Pesach begins tonight, the time of our ancestral liberation from Egyptian bondage and slavery. And so we send the Haggadahs with him as well, because now he's been liberated from whatever deterioration or pain that he is feeling. As you think of Don, you should try to fix some things. And you can build things. And you can do some camping. Even if it's like a Motel 6 camp. I mean, but the point of the building of things and the point of the repairing of things is that these aren't just physical things, these are relationship things. Every family has its mishigas. Every family. And these rare opportunities are times to reach out to one another, whether it's your family who lost a loved one or your own family who didn't lose a loved one, but every opportunity, each day is an opportunity to reach out and try to fix something in yourself and in your family. And let us consider doing these things and taking care of our dear animals in Don's loving memory. And so we conclude with words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mubarach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And let us say, Amen. Ose Shalom Bimromav, Uyase Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Imru, Amen. Yase Shalom, Yase Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yase Shalom, Yase Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of our dearly departed Don Rubin. And let us say, Amen. Please rise for El B'nai Rachamim. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of our dear Don Rubin. For you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us so we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. El male rachamim, shochet bamromim, hametzem menucha nechona, tachat karfei hashchina, im kedoshim utohorim, kezohara ki amasirim, et nishmat דוב בן מאיר שהלך לעולמו בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו ינוח בשלום על משכבו Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Dov Ben Meir, Don Rubin. He has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Please lower the casket. Psalm 90. Adonai ma'on atah hayita danu dor vador. Terem harim yuladu v'tchareel eretz v'tevel. U'me'olam ad olam atah er. Tashev enosh ataka v'tomer shuvu v'nei adam. Ki elef shanim be'enecha ki yom ekmol ki avor v'ashmura v'layla. Zoram tam shena. יהיו בבוקר כחציר יחלום. בבוקר יציץ וחלף, לערב ימלל ויבש. O God, you have been our refuge in every generation. Before the mountains came into being, before you brought forth the earth and the world, from eternity to eternity you are God. You return us to dust. You decree, return you mortals. For in your sight 1,000 years are as yesterday when it is past, or as a watch in the night. You engulf us in sleep. We are like grass that renews itself. At daybreak it flourishes anew, at dusk it withers and dries up. The span of our life is 80 years and 10, or given strength 80 years. But the best of those years have trouble and sorrow. They pass by speedily, and we are in darkness. Teach us, therefore, so to number our days, that we may attain a heart of wisdom. Turn to us, O God. Show mercy to your servants. Satisfy us at daybreak with your steadfast love, that we may sing for joy all our days. Let your deeds be seen by your servants, your glory by your children. May your favor, O God, be upon us. Establish the work of our hands, that it may long endure. And let us together recite the Kaddish prayer. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah, ba'alma divrach hirutev yamlich machuteh, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chay l'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'yizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei kudusha b'richu, le'elam yitkol birchata v'shirata Tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran ba'alma v'yimru amen, Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yahaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn, and comfort all who are bereaved, and let us say, Amen. And before we place the earth upon the casket, just a reminder, we'll be heading back to, the family's heading back to the residence for a little Shiva, and we'll be reciting Kaddish at that point again, and also we'll be on the Kaddish list in our synagogue every day for the next 30 days. And our Friday night services are at 7:30 p.m. Not tonight because it's Pesach, but every other Friday night. And we will recite Kaddish for him in Hebrew school and in Sunday school and in a Hebrew Yuzo. Whether any family members are in attendance or not, we will be honored to do that.
Thank you. Ask the immediate family to step forward first.
Lech kishilacha Adonai, go your way for God has called you. Lech Adonai ye'imach, go your way and may the Lord be with you. V'halach lefanecha tzidkecha, kavod Adonai ya'asvecha. May your righteousness go before you, and may God's glory receive you. Would everyone here not wearing a ribbon, please repeat these words to me whenever you may God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem.
Spouses and grandchildren, if you'd like to step forward.
And then anyone else who wishes